after what happened to them in World War II, they deserve a place where they can do their own thing and protect their own people without getting wrecked by everybody else who hates them. And you know what? Maybe someday everyone who hates Jews are going to be gone. We are not living in that world today. And people, they it's a slippery slope though. If they can have it, why can't the KKK have their own state? I say that's not going to happen. It's absurd for us to even have this discussion. It is very reasonable for the Jews to have a place that is theirs. And they say, oh, but what about the Palestinians? You know what? That's a separate political issue. Like the existence of a Jewish state, which is what Zionism is, like the belief that they have the right to a Jewish state, the existence of a Jewish state, is separate from the issue of what do you do with refugees from some political, or, from some physical area. So it was so funny to me when like Palmer's this anti-Semitic guy, because it was literally made up. Like it's not even like there was like screenshots or made up screenshots. The journalists just said it was true with zero evidence, and they just repeated what each other said. And I know people are going to hear this and say, "This I must be missing." Palmer's ignore, like he's glossing over something. He must have like said something about Jews on Twitter, and they were like,
"Are you Jewish?"
No, I'm not Jewish. I just believe in the existence of a Jewish state. And look, I bet even some of your listeners probably won't agree with me on that, and that's fine. We don't have to all agree on everything. But I will say it was pretty ridiculous in the moment where like Palmer's an anti-Semite. I'm like, no, I love the Jews more than like anybody. Like you Democrats would probably hate me for how much I like the Jews. You know, like that you. Anyway, it was. But what happened was, as a result of this reporting, like looking back, I should have pushed back. What happened is I wrote a statement saying, hey, this is all false. None of this is true. Here's what actually happened. I gave $9,000 to this pro-Trump group. They ran a single billboard. Everyone is lying. This is literally fake news. And that was when fake news was like a new phrase. Facebook told me I couldn't publish it. They said, we won't let you make this statement. You cannot make this statement because it frames the media as the bad guy.
What a crazy place to work.
It really, well, and you know what was even crazier was that they maintained for years and years and years that I was not fired for my politics. Zuck got asked about it when he was in front of Congress. Yeah, it was Ted Cruz who asked him, Senator Cruz, why did you fire Palmer Luckey? And he said, oh, I don't think this is an appropriate forum. He said, you have to answer the question. And Zuck said something like, I can only commit that it was not it was not a political matter or something like that, which was, to be fair to Mark, I don't think he was lying. I think that his team had properly insulated him from it. Like when you're illegally firing employees for their politics, you don't bring that to the most important people in the company and basically poison them. Like that's poisoning the king. Like to show him, if you're like, hey king, here's this thing, we're performing illegal activity. Like you've just screwed them over now because now they do know. And now, am I to say that there was no suspicion or a kind of understanding as to what would happen? I wouldn't go that far, but it was crazy how they maintained for years and years and years that they literally their CTO Andrew Bosworth publicly on multiple occasions said Palmer's termination had nothing to do with politics. It was not a factor in any way whatsoever. And they were telling people, they started telling me that I was fired for cause. They're like, oh, we can't tell you why he was fired, but believe me, we had no choice. He did something that was just beyond the pale. We had to fire him.